Today, we're going to be adding a region switch to switch between Japanese and US games on a Nintendo GameCube. This mod is super simple and quick and easy to do. All we have to do is disassemble our console down to the motherboard. From there, we find resistor R6 located right next to the GPU. You'll notice that there isn't a resistor in place on the Japanese consoles. If you install a resistor or bridge this solder, you'll have a US system. However, since we want this to be done on a switch, we're going to solder a wire to both pads of the resistor, and then solder the ends of those wires to the switch. That will enable us to be able to switch back and forth between Japanese and US games without having to disassemble the console. You may want a small iron tip for this process, as if you use a larger conical tip, you have the potential to accidentally knock off your other wire that you already soldered. Now that we've got both wires soldered, let's go ahead and drop the motherboard into the bottom half of the shell. We'll want the wires to route to the bottom right hand side of the console if the controller ports are facing the top. We'll want them to be facing near the bottom right so that they'll slip through a crack in the shell and allow us to mount the switch near the back of the console. You'll want the wires to pass right through that channel in the DVD drive. If done correctly, 30 gauge wire should pass through there with no problem and zero chance of it being damaged. From here, we went ahead and mounted our switch in the only position that it would fit in our console, as we used a rather large switch. However, if you use a smaller switch, you can mount it lower down near the grills at the bottom. Now that we've got our switch in place, let's go ahead and run our two wires to the switch and solder them in place. I'm going to go ahead and trim down the wires some so that they'll still be able to open the console fully should it ever need to be repaired. When you solder your wires, make sure that none of the solder is accidentally touching or causing any bridges. This includes making sure that it's not touching the metal cage for the drive. If you want to be 100% sure that you have no shorts, you can put heat shrink over all of your solder connections on the switch as well. And finally, we had to trim one tab off of the top of the shell in order for the switch to sit in the shell. We simply used some flush cut pliers to go ahead and cut away that section. From this point, you can go ahead and reassemble your console and you'll have a working GameCube with a region switch. As you can see, we go ahead and start off with the English version of Smash Brothers here, and we get a message that there's no memory card in the slot, but this proves that the game is working and loading. Let's go ahead and power off the system and swap out the discs. And as you can see, we're loading a Japanese version of Crazy Taxi. We'll go ahead and flip the switch on the back and power the console back up, and it'll go ahead and load the Japanese game. And that's all there really is to it. It's a pretty simple mod allowing you to switch between two regions on the GameCube. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below, join our Discord link down below, and if you want to see more content like this, please be sure to check out our wiki, which is also linked down below. As always, thank you for watching.